A man is dragging an 18-foot slab of limestone uphill. No wheel, no metal, no farm. History handed you the rope and said, "Hold my scroll." He's building a temple, and nobody on earth has invented farming yet. That hill sits in southern Turkey, and we call it Göbekli Tepe. It's roughly 11,500 years old, older than writing, older than the wheel, and older than the Egyptian pyramids by about 7,000 years, and it belongs to an era that everybody's been sleeping on. Here's the deal. The people in this story made one choice that left them shorter, sicker, and a lot busier, and they committed to it anyway. Nobody's truly sure why. We're fixing that today. The era is the Neolithic, running from roughly 12,000 years ago to about 4,000, depending where you're standing. Your history textbook gives it a single line. Humans started farming. That's the entry. That's the whole thing. It deserves more respect than that. But that one line is the biggest plot twist our species has ever had. Before it, everybody moved. You followed the animals, you followed the seasons, and you ate a wild mixed diet. Then everybody planted a seed on purpose, walked off, and came back for it months later. You cannot carry a wheat field, so they stopped moving, cause obviously. And the second you stop moving, you need a thing nobody had ever needed before. A fence. Keep an eye on that fence. It comes back. Farming didn't hand us bread first, it handed us the fence. Because the fence isn't wood, a fence is a sentence. It says this belongs to me and it doesn't belong to you. Every war, every lawsuit, every roommate writing their name on a carton of milk, that's the same sentence with better paperwork. And we had the whole order of this backwards. The story we told ourselves was tidy. Farming first, comfort second, monuments last. Göbekli Tepe throws that entire sequence in the bin. The people who built it were hunter-gatherers. No crops, no pottery, no farm animals, just hundreds of them hauling carved stone up a hill for a project with no obvious point, and look at what they carved. The pillars aren't columns, they're bodies, long, slender, arms run down the sides and bend at the elbow. There are fingers, there's a belt with a buckle on one of them, a fox pelt dangles from the belt like a keychain, but there are no faces, a ring of giants standing fully dressed in the dark and completely blank from the neck up. So, what were these people eating at the world's first enormous gathering? Better question, what were they drinking? In a cave in northern Israel, a Stanford team found 3 stone mortars with residue still inside. Wheat and barley, malted, mashed, and fermented with wild yeast. It was beer. 13,000 years old, the oldest booze anyone has ever found, and 1,500 years older than a single stone on that Turkish hill. And that cave was not a pub, it was a burial ground. They were brewing this for funerals, so the drinks arrived before the crops did. Here's the leading idea, and I want to be clear that it's an idea, not a settled fact. Feeding a huge crowd at a ritual site is hard. Wild grain runs out fast. If you want that gathering happening next year, somebody has to grow the food on purpose. Which means farming may not have started because we were starving. It may have started because we wanted to throw a party. Again. The most important decision in human history might have been event planning. And roughly 9,000 years ago, they took the idea too far. They built a city, 5,000 people minimum, and not a single street. Alright, before we continue into this video any further, I just want to share this program that I started recently, and it really helped me relax and focus while I was working. And so I thought it might be something that you are interested in as well. And if you are, I'll leave the link in the description as well as the pinned comment and you can check it out. Let's get back to the video. The place is Çatalhöyük in central Turkey. Picture a honeycomb, mud brick houses packed together wall to wall with no gaps, no roads, and no alleyways. So how did you get inside? Through the roof, cause obviously every house had a hole in the ceiling that worked as the door, the chimney, and the window all at once. You climbed a ladder down into your own living room, the rooftops were streets, the whole town was one giant walkable surface, and the neighbors were walking over your head all day. No places, no throne room, nobody obvious in charge. Also, and please sit with this one, they buried their dead underneath the floors of their own houses. More than 500 bodies. Grandma isn't a cemetery across town. Grandma is under the living room. And every one of them was praying for this with their body. In 2022, researchers compared DNA predicted height against real leg bones across 30,000 years of skeletons. Early farmers came out roughly 4 centimeters shorter than their own genes said they should be. Worse teeth, more cavities, more infections, hunger gaps when a harvest failed. We built the most successful food system in the history and it immediately made us smaller. Imagine getting a promotion and losing an inch. Which brings me to the thing I've been sitting on. And no, I'm not talking about a chair. The deadliest invention of this entire era wasn't a weapon. Hold that thought. As well as my scroll. If you're still here after Grandma under the living room, you're my kind of person. Subscribe, it's free, and it makes the algorithm very nervous. Right, about 10 years ago in Jericho, somebody constructed a stone tower, 8.5 meters tall, 28 feet. It's the oldest public building we know about anywhere on the planet, and we still have no idea what it was for. Defense, flood protection, a marker for the summer sun, a flex, take your pick, because the experts have been arguing about this for 70 years and counting. But if you want to know what settling down actually did to us, forget the tower. You want a hole in the ground in Germany. Talheim, roughly 7,000 years old, a pit containing 34 people, 16 children, 9 adult men, 7 adult women, 2 nobody could identify. Almost every one of them was killed by blows to the back of the skull using the same stone tools their own culture used for carpentry, and several of those skulls carry older injuries that had already healed over, which means this wasn't a single terrible afternoon, this was a routine. The people who invented the fence became the first people to die defending one, because obviously... Okay, that got bleak, so let me take you somewhere with a genuinely lovely kitchen. Skara Brae in Orkney, off the northern coast of Scotland, built around 3100 BC, which makes it older than the pyramids and older than Stonehenge. 5,000 years ago, a village in Scotland had indoor plumbing. And inside these houses, carved out of solid stone, there is furniture, built-in furniture, a dresser with shelves facing the doorway positioned exactly where you'd put it if you wanted visitors seeing the good plates, box beds, a heart in the center of the room, and underneath the floors, stone-lined drains, covered channels running beneath every single house, and in at least one of them, something that looks remarkably like an indoor toilet. 5,000 years ago in northern Scotland, somebody had a feature wall and functioning plumbing. Meanwhile, Stonehenge hadn't even been started. So here's the deadliest invention. It wasn't the axe, it was the crowd. Pack people together shoulder to shoulder, add livestock, add stored grain, add the rats that inevitably arrived with stored grains, and you get something the traveling world had never experienced. Epidemics. In a tomb in Sweden, researchers recovered plague DNA from a woman who died about 5,000 years ago. Not the Black Death version, an older, more basic strain sitting right at the root of the family tree. Of the farmers tested from the burial, nearly 1 in 5 had it active in their body when they died. That may be the earliest pandemic in human history, and it happened because we finally stopped moving. Which brings us all the way back to the fence. You still live inside one. You pay rent for the privilege of occupying a specific space. Your job exists because somebody figured out how to store surplus grain. Your week has a rhythm because a planting calendar demanded one, and your back hurts because your spine was engineered to walk 20 kilometers daily, and you've been sitting down since March. That's the Neolithic. No emperors, no named battles, nothing you could ever put on a movie poster, just the 10,000 years that quietly decide everything about how you live. It isn't underrated, it's unwatched. So yeah, you held my scroll through a faceless stone giant, a graveyard brewery, and a Stone Age kitchen and renovation. Drop a like if your back started hurting at any point during this video. Tell me in the comments which part you flat out refuse to believe, and subscribe because next time we're opening a whole new can of worms. We will be discussing things that humans were never meant to see. I'll see you guys then. Until then, hold my scroll and stroke it gently as well. Before I go though, just a reminder, that program that I spoke of, it really did help me focus while working and especially relax after I'm done working. It's an audio program that you can listen to while working or working out or just staring at the wall. So it's pretty convenient. Link in the description, also in the pinned comment below. That's how you can support me without any extra cost to you. Thank you so much for watching this video.